all right, indeed. A very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us at this edition of The Tackle. It is the 29th of July, 2022, tarehe 29 mwezi wa 7 mwaka 2022. Natumai kwamba uko salama, umeamka vizuri na uko tayari kuweza kutackle siku ya leo. Wherever you are, please, when you join like, when you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and that like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you join, please like, when you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and that like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Nairobi leo baridi, it's a very, very chilly morning. Ni kubaya, hata naona watu wanakoa hapa kama daktari hapa. Nakoa hapa, atatuambia sijui alikuwa ametembea wapi. Nairobi is not looking good at all. Baridi.
Kuna baridi.
Na unatembea na shati tu bado.
No, niko na jacket. Lakini because studio yako pia ni moto sababu ya ile mambo ina.
Afa utembea na blanketi.
Itabidi.
It's indeed a very, very good morning to you. The Sharia Wiki edition, or the home stretch of 12 days to the general elections. It's 12, 11 days.
10 days actually, or 11.
10 days?
Yeah, 11.
Okay.
To voting time.
10 days to voting day. I don't know if you already made up your mind. It is actually said, polls or statistics say that over 25% of Kenyans have not made up their mind what they're going to vote for. I don't know what that means. And I want to ask you as well, have you made your mind? The political landscape as well continues to oscillate and to play. Mwana Mike Sonko jana, amesema Raila was, used to be. Wala Mombasa pia amesema we are Ben Sarai for Mombasa governor. So it's getting interesting as well. It seems like there are some tectonic movements that are going to happen within the 10 days, and it'll be interesting to see what else can play out within these days. Lakini kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, halafu tukirudi basi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu, halafu tunaingia kazi haraka upesi. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you for this program. We thank you for the guest, Dr. EKURU AUKOT. As we have this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this country. For you pray something and believing. Amen. In other news, the other guest who had been invited has not shown up. She said she amepata mkutano. Kwa hivyo amesema hatakuja. Alright, but Tracy, kama sisi ni nani? Sisi ni sisi yao. We'll have to continue with this conversation as well.
But I've noticed a trend. Every time you invite third way guests, and of course, when we want to discuss something closer to our agenda or punguza mizigo, watu wa Azimio wanaingia nyasi. Even the so-called Professor Manyora
yesterday
who was touting me on Twitter, and I told him, yes, I'm more than happy to make time now for us to debate real issues, and especially this 2022 election, because there are issues we want to bring. Again, niko na mkutano. Kwani sisi ndio hatuna mkutano?
Swala nyeti. Kwani sisi hatuna mkutano? Kwani sisi hatuna mkutano? That's a big question. Actually, Manyora called me yesterday akaniambia ile show yetu na EKURU iko wapi bwana? Nikamwambia nilikuambia kudiani. Sisi tuko tayari. EKURU anakonga Friday you come in. Akasema sawa, tengeneza poster. Kidogo karibu saa 1. Niambia bwana I'll not be able to make it. So tukaswitch tukasema tafuta muungano mwingine na pena wa Azimio.
And even when you analyze them, what really is their political contribution for them to be that busy to come and discuss matters of national interest? The other time again, you invited that other kafelo called Paul Mwangi. It's just
unajoma.
No, but you know
what is the contribution for them to pretend to be very busy?
Not to spare an hour or two just to discuss the matters that are germane to the country, especially now this last stretch where I can see Kenyans are oscillating 25% still undecided. This is a very important issue, even for you, for you really who now claims that you have a presidential candidate out there. It should be very important for you to come and tell Kenyans, those 25%, convince them. Please come and vote for my candidate.
In fact, these 10 days should be meetings with people, with wananchi.
Kabisa. And talking to them and urging them, kujeni. Tuongee juu ya Kenya. Sio kujifanya tijina ka breakfast meeting.
And I think the biggest challenge in this election, Daktari, would be, I don't know, but I think the biggest challenge would be getting out the vote. I think there'd be a very big problem in terms of getting out people to vote. I don't know, do you feel it? I travel a lot. And, that's the feeling that I get. Feels like people struggle to get out to vote. You know what has happened? To be honest, is the metaphor of choosing how you want to be eaten. Yeah, either you want to be eaten by a jackal or a hyena, or you are in a pool of hippopotamus and crocodiles. So you can choose how you want to be eaten. So Kenyans are really saying,
must we really be eaten in the first place? Because the choices that we have been given after mchujo of credible candidates like myself and others happened, Kenyans were disillusioned. You know, Kenyans are still disillusioned because they're also looking at what has been the political contribution and promises these people have made in the past. These are not newcomers in Kenyan politics. They are people who have been in government for long. But some of their promises are just outright lies. We will do this when we get into government. Yet you're already in government. Some are in government, they are denying that this government has failed to do ABC. Yet they never spoke when they were in government. So Kenyans are saying, I mean, these are just a bunch of liars who are actually interested more about themselves. And I think what I like about this idea of 25% Kenyans not being decided is because I think their conscience is being pricked. And slowly Kenyans are actually coming to terms with the fact that the Kenyan politician is a typical pathological liar, you know, especially those who've been in government for a long time. So, and this is why even when I was speaking to a number of people, because I'm encouraging people, go and vote. Right now, Bitok, as we speak, and we'll come to that article about how COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise for Kenya, how it has saved us 1.6 billion, 286 million from MPs, travel packs and all that. And we'll revisit that. And I will want to remind Kenyans again why we brought Punguza Mizigo and what we are savings we're making. But listen, I look at the 25% of Kenyans who are reluctant to go to vote as considering about three options. Number one, they know how clueless Chebukati of IEBC actually mishandled, actually bungled this election because of the manner in which he handled, for example, the nomination process, the election itself. Up until 1 day ago, is it yesterday? That's now when there's this pretense that the three Venezuelans who were arrested with Stakabadi's election were now cleared. You can see the shenanigans that's being playing and all that. Look at and I will talk about the nomination process because I must speak about my own experience, how we are being removed from the race. Although it's still a matter active in court, but I doubt we will be reinstated at this time. And that's why I'm telling you, there are three options here why Kenyans are considered. Number one, looking at the manner in which the election has been managed. Because, you know, and this, since we are still in the context of Sharia Wiki hii, I need to take Kenyans back to 2017.
Yes.
In 2017, the Supreme Court of Kenya determined and pronounced a judgment in its judgment that election is not an event. It is a process. So the process must be seamless. If you mess up with one part of the process, then you're actually affecting the entire election. Process, yes. And now that takes me to option number one that Kenyans are considering, which is that this election must be cancelled. There are many Kenyans who are saying this election is shambolic already, it's predetermined. You can see the way in which, for example, government of the day and the outgoing president of Kenya, the failed and outgoing president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, is actually pushing down the throats a candidate of his choice. He's even saying, I chose, I mean, he had the audacity to say that he nominated both the presidential candidate called Raila Odinga and also a running mate called Mother Karua. Okay? So the president is actually playing a central role, meaning he's also abusing his office as president. It's like, the father of the nation to try and impose on Kenyans what of course is not democracy, but he believes he has a right as a Kenyan. So he has lost that respect of Kenyans. That's why Kenyans are saying, why is a guy who has made promises since 2013, put us into a huge national debt of about 8 trillion Kenyan shillings, who has admitted that he cannot handle corruption, whose government is torn right in the middle, now telling us that my legacy is to give you so and so. So Kenyans are saying, do we even need to go to this election? So they are considering, why can this election be cancelled? That's a conversation out there, Bitok, and I'm sure you have heard many Kenyans say. Number two, they are wondering, do I actually vote between this jackal and a hyena to be eaten? Do I want to be eaten in the first place? So that's another option they are considering. They may have to vote, because personally I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote because I want to have a reason why I must call this whatever government comes into place into account. You know, because that's my democratic right. I don't want to consider it a waste of my vote because I must be able to critique government of the day.
So where is your vote?
You can be sure my vote will not go to the current government or who the current government supports.
Okay.
You can be sure about that. Because if there is one political cancer we must remove in this Kenya, and I'm not afraid to say it, is the Kenyatas and the Odingas. This is the people who have captured the state. I'm sure right now you hear a lot of state capture in a conversation going on. The status quo. Uhuru Kenyatta, even though he's a failed president who cannot actually account for many things, he's now telling us he wants to continue his legacy. And his legacy is, as the chairman of Azimio, he'll be convening the next government. He's actually not going away. So really, do we want another Uhuru Kenyatta? Because this Raila Odinga is basically a tired man, has no ideas. Even when you listen to his political rallies, there's nothing coming on. Kinaruto, on the other hand, they are talking of a bottom-up approach. I can see them now copying Punguza Mizigo. They're talking about World Development Fund, not take man to machine. And this is what PMK was all about. Yeah. So for me, I would rather we try to remove people who have captured the state of this country, who believe that if it's not only their families in power, then how again we will deal with them, because we also know their weaknesses. But it's the option of a lesser evil. Yeah. Wacha na wale ngine political flower girls, my friend Wajakoya, who was just invited to come and decorate the show. You know, they are not the real cake. They are just the icing on the cake. And we'll speak about how they got there in the first place.
And that's where we need to start from doing the nomination. Now you're going to be a pathologist.
I'll come to that. Be a pathologist. I'll come to that because it's very important Kenyans understand how are we put into this space. Now, option number 3 is don't vote at all.
That's dangerous.
But I think that is dangerous, and my persuasion to Kenyans, because if you don't vote, then it means you will have to keep quiet, keep your peace until maybe the next election. But you will be reluctantly actually voting in a government you do not want. So in my view is, we may not cancel the election. For me, the best idea would have been to cancel this election and we do it afresh. We follow the law, because I will tell you, we never followed the law for example, even in the nomination process. A lot of things happen, including some candidates who are cleared, who do not even have the basic requirements of the law. So, having said that, let's go to the nomination process of this election.
Even before you go to the nomination process, let me check out these guys who are awake this morning. Let's just get to identify them. George Kidai anasema mbona nyinyi mnalia baridi, kwani iko ngapi? Nairobi right now, I think it's negative 18 degrees. Things here are very elevated. But we are freezing. It's not looking good at all. All right. Good morning to you, George Kidaiga, Johnson, Nick Kinyua. Kindly, please, when will you be engaging Rigathi Gachagua? He's coming in soon. I had called him this morning, and I hope you'll be able to loop him in next week, earliest next week before Wednesday. We'll have Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua. We'll have a conversation here this morning. Nash Nira, Ruta the 5th. Good morning. Good morning to Shango Seur Kibletin. Good morning. UDA party and Asaba UDA party Kondani. Santa Kibletin Kolomija. Good morning to my brother. Good morning, watching from listening from Nakuru. Thank you so much, bro. Salimia watu wa Nakuru sana. More Israel Mike. Good morning, Bito. Good morning to you, sir. Collins Kimtai. Good morning, Gerald. And team Moiben following say I to constitution expert Dr. EKURU. Mesalemeka. George anasema kuna nani? Tuko na daktari hapa EKURU AUKOT. Captain Sang, morning Bito, kana visitors. I'm watching you from Kericho County. Okay. Bito, let's go. Play more. Morning GB. Good morning to you. Alligator. Good morning. Abito kusalimia mheshimiwa following from Doha, Qatar. Thank you so much watu wa Doha. Shaka nasema Manyora ameingia Nyase pia. Entered grass big time. Keep Victor. Good morning Joel. Bito salimia wakili. Masalimika Esther Mudhoni Dirango. Good morning to you Esther. Bito good morning to salimia watu wa Texas, United States of America. Rob Kipto, natural reminder 10 days to 9th August General Polls of love, peace and unity. Asante. Sinova Mabili, morning watching from Western Viga County, Bazenga Aukot. Good morning my people. Salimia my president. Asante sana. Excellency Arab Keme mheshimiwa. Good morning Gerald Bitose I to Dr. EKURU AUKOT na underground. Asante sana His Excellency Arab Keme. This guy is running on an independent ticket in Washington. Senate.
Mwambie nikipita huko nikienda kukampenia watu Turkana next week. Tapitia hapo nimsalimie.
Ongelesha watu Turkana. Wasikia His Excellency Arab Keme. EKURU amesema atapitia hapo kuongelesha watu Turkana. Unajua Wasingishu kuna Turkana wengi
sana. Wengi sana I know. So he wants the Turkana vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's running there on independent ticket. Alisema alikarangwa kwa mambo ya nomination.
Watu wengi walikarangwa. Si ati
Kwa hivyo, yeye sasa kwa independent na anaoa anasema saidie kule Waturkana. So ukienda pale ukuende bana uongeleshe kinachoka.
Yeah. Sawa. Mwambie anapitia hapa LD nikipitia kienda huko.
Ukipitia hapo ndakupea namba.
Tuko na candidate.
Send the numbers alafu muende muongee.
Yes.
Basanga kwa sema kama jambo mambo vipi? Keeps DMO watching live from Isiolo. Mwangi Njuguna speak. Haya. Enough is enough. All right. Bobby Talk Musa good morning GB and Taklas watching live from Mereweta. Asante sana watu wangu wa nyumbani. Saila Sumukwa, Dr. EKURU is speaking serious sense and truthful insights. Sande Manuke Cheboson. Good morning General Bitok. Simon Otieno, tell Ruto is official opposition leader back to studio.
Umeona tu ni maozo wanatukana tu. Ukiambia tu ukweli, wataka kusikia.
Lukindo Kinyazi asema watching from that. Watu wa Dar es Salaam bado nawapenda sana. Watu wangu wa Dar es Salaam. Thank you so much. Pia tulikuwa Dar es Salaam bana watu wangwana sana.
Again Bitoko let down na promise moja we make. You know, before this election we had agreed that we are going to the diaspora to mobilize diaspora so that they can become a constituency on its own, because let me tell you, one of the suggestions we had made in Punguza Mizigo Kenya was to create a diaspora desk in parliament, both in Senate and National Assembly, because Kenyans out there are making a tremendous contribution to this country's economic growth. They are just being let down. They don't have representation. Even the so-called Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our embassies really do not treat the diaspora as a very important segment, part of our nation. And we are talking upwards, I think, of 5 million Kenyans out there. So that's a constituency on its own. Kuna watu hapo wanashinda kura to go to parliament at 10,000. So you can imagine the diaspora vote even of at least maybe a minimum of 2 million. That's a serious constituency. And this is why when we were writing the Kenya Constitution, we ensured that the diaspora become part and parcel of our electoral process. They must be registered. They must be allowed to vote. And right now, so the only mishap is that we never created a constituency for them. So in Punguza Mizigo, Kenya, we had actually proposed diaspora has to be represented. Yeah.
Okay. Lakini hao ni watu wa Tanzania hawa. As diaspora, these are Tanzania.
Yeah, we need to look beyond East Africa.
We need to move. And by the way, I was looking at something yesterday, and I don't know, but I think it's time. It's time we actually we had a conversation around ESC.
East African community.
It's time we had a conversation about East African community. Because I think that's the only way we can consolidate our economy as East African. So I posted something yesterday. I thought it was funny.
But we're already having a problem even with South Sudan. Remember now South Sudan, we were discussing the South Sudan National Assembly just 2 days ago. And now they have said that they are not going to allow their goods to transit through this Nairobi SGR terminal, because of the cartels that have actually captured, freight of goods.
All right. So I think it's time we had that conversation, because I posted something funny yesterday. I thought it was funny, but then clearly it wasn't very funny. And I said, if you save 1 shilling, 1 Ugandan shillings every day in Uganda for 10 years, you'll still end up with less than $1 after 10 years of saving. What does that tell you? If we had a common currency as Africa, we could compete with that dollar. But as it is right now, it seems that we cannot really compete economically in terms of current value. Currency value.
That's one of the sticky issues. I mean, I was lucky to have been involved in the development of the East African Community Strategy of 2006 to 2010. And one of the sticky issues was that common currency, common port, amongst others. And of course, there was a lot of mistrust, especially from Tanzanians of Kenyans. Ugandans were a little bit lukewarm. So this also requires a serious conversation by the summit, or they call the heads of states. And one of the things that I've been critical about for the longest time is that why do we have refugees from East African countries in Kenya? Why do we have refugees from Kenya in Uganda or even Tanzania? When we allow free movement of goods and services, and we talk about common things that affect us. I mean, I've worked in South Sudan for a number of years. I've seen the tremendous contribution Kenyans are actually making in South Sudan in terms of running the hotel industry, food and all that. I mean, they're doing very well. So one of the questions that we must ask ourselves as East Africans, or even Africans, when our heads of states and heads of governments meet, what exactly do they discuss? And this is why people have become so skeptical about AU, for example, and even the East African community, that this is just a club of individuals. And this is why now the conversation around state capture is becoming real, because you have people, for example, who have overstayed their usefulness in government. And even when the constitutional democracies dictate otherwise in terms of transitioning, in terms of succession, in terms of leaving power, they still insist on bringing their surrogates that they can control, like the case is happening right now in this election. You know, and I think there's a lot of lies that are being told, and so I do not know really, and I hope that tacklers can actually contribute to this. How is that gullible? You know, as Kenyans,
yes.
Why is it that we are unable to actually see the lies in these people? Are we blinded by tribal, our tribal affiliation? And what does that really mean in common parlance, in common life? Because whether somebody from your ethnic background goes to State House, how does that help you in living your life better? Because even if you look at, for example, the effects of COVID in terms of the economy, in terms of health, education, and all that, your person in State House, your person in Parliament, or your person in Senate never really came to your rescue. Yeah? As a matter of fact, they are enjoying those better perks. And I'm sure we'll come to discuss about that later. So I think what I'm just challenging Kenyans is that let's wake up and smell the coffee. You know, let's pick up credible leaders. And I hope in this last stretch, people will prick their consciousness. You know, as I was coming here, I was reading an article that you forwarded to me about how we've saved a lot of money. You know, how Treasury has saved 286 million Kenya shillings, and how the judiciary, is it the judiciary? I said 1.6.
The country, 1.6 billion.
So in total, we have saved about close to 2 billion, about 1.9 billion Kenya shillings, just from travel alone and parks. Now, you have members of parliament who say that they want to go to Riyadh, New York,
because there are better parks. Yeah. And I think that's what we need to read for Kenyans. It's quite crazy what these guys are handling.
And the question that even as you read that, the question to Kenyans is, these are issues that should be in the ballot on August 2022.
Yes.
You're a member of parliament who went and spent billions, you know, about 500,000 every day per day, both accommodation and food or whatever, to go and compile a report on health, on education, on matters constitutional affairs. Has that report even been made public in the first place? And how does it impact your life? So this is the conversation we should be having right now as Kenyans, as we go to this last stretch.
All right. As usual, let me just finish up with these guys as we recognize the guys who have joined us this morning. I'll come to you, YouTube guys. Saying on Facebook, Alebu Arabu Hale, good morning, Bitok. And Aviza now, Salimia Daktari. I like his view on how to remove the so-called state capture thing. Keep Victor, Karibu Daktari. All right. Ngenj K Alex, keep Koma from Joro. Good to see you, Vini Kimtai. Jambo Bitok, good morning to you, Masi Kosgei. Morning, good morning, Masi. Manu Kejeboson, oh yes, good point dear. At Vavatil. Hey. Vaytaville, Arkansas, United States of America. Asante. Fayetteville. Okay. Inaitwa Fayetteville. Okay. All right. Okay. Najua mambo hizi bado kuenda sana.
Jatembea huko Amerika.
Nasema Massachusetts. Hapa kwa diaspora, you are my speaking wisdom. Let's have it on the constitution. MCA Tony asema, what a brain in Daktari Akwad. Looking forward to his presidency in future. Boni Wambugu, good morning, Rais. Uliza Daktari Azimio no awana numbers, but they believe Uhuru will top up. Is this possible? Okay, Bazenga quote, the bottom-up formula was copied from Punguza Mizigo. Kudos, Dr. Yokot. Skameburu, happy to be drinking from Dr. Akot's fountain of wisdom. Good to see you, Aska. Let's go to YouTube. David Akero, Salimia Daktari, Third Way Alliance didn't make it, but remember Abraham Lincoln had a string of losses over 28 years before he became president.
6 times, actually.
Yes, I would also like to know Dr. Akot's opinion on Jimmy Wanjigi's expose. I think that's what actually I wanted to go to. Jimmy Wanjigi's expose on Kenya's debt. And would he consider joining that fight on a legal front? Alex Mbugwa It's between two terrible candidates. Will not vote for the presidency. The presidency will vote for all other positions. My hope and prayer is we get a strong legislature to oversight the presidency. I think you don't need to throw your vote. Just pick something and vote. Just make a vote. Brian Cooley, Kipchumba, watching all the way from Doha, loving the show. Thank you so much. Stephen Mayo, Gerald Morning. Tell Ekuru to explain why he's not in the ballot. Sielewi. Compare him and Wajakoya. My brother, Keja Graphic, some assistant. Good morning to you, my brother. Good to see you all the way from America as well. We have a lot of diasporans here, and I think we need to take seriously the issue. They said actually we go. Keja Graphics himself. Alisema is ready to pay for tickets and pay for accommodation. We go to do a tour of America.
We should start this debate immediately.
Now, these guys are saying now we need to wait until 2024.
No, we can get an exception.
Are you sure? You can do something as a president?
You can pull a presidential card.
Good rise. Keja Graphics is ready. Alisema you get your visas, I'll get your flights, I'll get your accommodation.
Just go online and apply and I'll tell you what to do.
Sasa wewe fanya hiyo kitu, pull a presidential card. Ingekuwa kwetu nikasema ategemeane ndiye mmoja tayari na kutegemea ufanye kitu. Maxwell, some doctor disappointed me by not running for president. He has been my president. Alijaribu.
It's not me. I'll explain why.
Yeko Ronald anasema, Gerald, I'll one day leave Uganda just to meet Ekuru. Can you imagine? The guy wants to leave Uganda just to come and see you.
Actually, tell him, I have a trip coming up with a client, maybe next week to Kampala. We can stay. I have a day trip to Kampala just in the morning and back in the so we can have lunch with him.
Okay, that's it for you, Yeko Ronald. You can send in your numbers. What I can give you to Daktari. Then at Mambo itakuwa shwari. You can have lunch there. He said you can have lunch. Bruce Lee, Sadia, good morning. Good morning to you. Ron, okay. Labadising from Lamu. Kimo Ego Sichot, watching from Tora. Sante, just as Rotumoy. Good morning, Gerald. Enough is enough. Akot is one of the finest lawyers that we admire. Sante, alafu mpige kura pia. Elvis KW 95 shares for me. Good morning, Gerald Bitoka Daktari. Thank you so much, Elvis KW. Kama tungekuwa na watu kama Elvis, ambao kazi tu ikianza, show ikianza hivi, umepata 100 shares from one man. One man army. That is one man army, bwana. Akiingia TV anapiga shares 100. One man army. Asos Kabale salimia Dr. Boss, Daktari Boss. Asante sana. Asos Kabale all the way from Doha as well. I think should be in the Middle East. Now, before we go to IBC, there seems to be a very important question that Kenyans are raising, and it's the question of public debt. And on Sunday, we launched a report with Wanjigi on Sunday at Serena.
Yes. I was supposed to be there, but I'm sorry I missed it. Yeah.
So we were the official media partner in launching that report. It also aired on NTV, but we were there before we were going it live. And he was here as well on.
Yes, I saw.
Was it on Wednesday? Yes, and I think he has raised very, very pertinent issues on the matter of public debt. And I saw the same. The president as well was almost reading from the same script during the debate, which I think we'll also go to that debate. He said that Kenyans have lost 4.1 trillion to projects that cannot be seen. Money that could have been borrowed, 4.1 trillion, but cannot be linked to any project. So actually, Wanjigi says that we don't actually owe any debt to anybody. In fact, we are owed 1.2 trillion. Kuna pesa yetu imekaa mahali ya 1.2 trillion. And now as we speak, our numbers are reading 8.47 trillion in terms of debt. And he has disputed that. I don't know what is your feeling about the public debt, because I think that's a universal issue that every Kenyan should be concerned about, regardless of which political divide you come from.
You know, Wanjigi could be right, but he may also be wrong. Okay. He may be wrong. He may be right in the sense that whenever you borrow money, public debt, I mean, you put a country into public debt, those, what they call agreements, must be publicly debated. You've seen what the US does when, for example, they want to borrow money. You've heard in the US, they talk of government closure. So discussing, a budget, and where that money comes from is a public issue. Okay. It's a public debate. Your representatives who you send to Parliament, to Senate, have to contribute to that debate. Yes, to the extent that these agreements, these obligations that Kenya government enters into are not made public, then that makes Jimmy Wanjigi's, assertion very clear that we don't have public debt. Because if you have public debt, why do we call it public in the first place? Public. Public to who? If it's not public to the people of Kenya.
Yes.
And that means you have to evidence, to prove, to show evidence, both in terms of contracting. You know, I'll give you an example, Bitok. In 2012, when oil was discovered in my native county, Turkana, I was luckily the legal advisor to the Turkana County Council at that time. And one of the things that I struggled to extract from the Ministry of Energy was what is called the public sharing contract. Petroleum sharing contract, PSC. Because that PSC shows you, for example, what blocks have been contracted and to who, at what cost, how much money should go to Kenyans, you know, how are we going to repay it, what are the arrangements. So that document ought to be public, that we have got 5 oil blocks in Turkana. Block 1 is about this how much. Block 2, and it should be public documents. So yes, Wanjigi is right. If you have not made these documents public, okay, then do we really have a debt as a country? The answer is no, we don't have. But on the other hand, we know for sure there's been a lot of borrowing. For example, we know, for example, about the Eurobond. You know about SGR. We now know about Expressway. Yeah, the Nairobi Expressway, which is supposed to be a BOT, build, operate, and then transfer, is a cartel because it's costing Kenyans 88 billion to just complete it, another 17 billion to rehabilitate the lower, and then another 6 billion to put in a company. So in total, it costs Kenyans about 117 billion Kenya shillings. And that is in the open. It's been made open. Yes. Okay. Although we have not seen the documentation for that. So I know there is money that's been borrowed from China, from wherever, because those companies are here. Chinese are operating our SGR because of that contract, which has not been made public. So to that extent, there is indeed a national debt. Okay. What is lacking is transparency and accountability on how these debts are being acquired in the first place. And who actually acquires them. Okay? So there is a national debt. Okay. But it's also enigmatic. Because if you don't see the paperwork on it, then is it really there? So to that extent, that's what I'm saying. Jimmy Wanjigi is both right and to some extent not right. Because it's not true that there is no country in the world that cannot have a national. Perhaps is him saying that we don't have a national debt may have been rhetorical on his part.
But he has said, you know, the Jubilee government, when it came to power, it had estimated this project cost at 5.3 trillion. And we have deployed a total of 5.6 something trillion. So it means then that we are able to actually finance our projects.
We are not able to finance because what we are now calling public debt based on these huge projects, infrastructure projects and whatever, and President Uhuru himself has confessed. And that's why, again, I ask Kenyans to prick their conscience. Is really electing President Uhuru again through his surrogate called Raila Odinga actually the solution that we need? Because this is a man who has come out to say openly that we are losing 2 billion every day and that he is unable to do anything about it. So why do we even want him closer to State House in August, in the next 5 years? We cannot even allow him to walk around. In fact, I think Uhuru should be banished and be sent somewhere. I mean, we should probably just tell Uhuru, there is a one-way ticket at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Choose the destination you want. We do the Ben Ali on Uhuru Kenyatta. You know when Tunisians, after the Arab Spring, the Tunisian Revolution, which was started by an older man called Mohamed Bouazizi. Mohamed Bouazizi was so tired of being harassed by just council askaris, our equivalent of Kanjo here. And because Ben Ali was doing nothing about the whole harassment of the police, by the ordinary people, by the police, whatever, this man started a revolution. And within a short time, Ben Ali and his family were told, we will not kill you. We are good Tunisian. We are good people. And even in Kenya, we will not, let's tell Kenyans, we will not harm Uhuru. You know, we just want to give him the option because your continued stay in Kenya is actually reminding us of the suffering you have subjected us for the last 10 years. In fact, if you do a comparative analysis between the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta and the presidency of Moi and the presidency of Kibaki, you know, Moi is a saint, as we speak, politically speaking. And so is Kibaki. This is a fairly young president who says, and many times he has said, I'm in control, I'm in charge of this government. But look at the problem. For example, going back to this national public debt, this public debt is your Syria, Muntu. It's not your personal loan. Make it public to us. Tell us exactly where this money is being borrowed from. What are those documentation? And I'll tell you why, for example, Wanjigi may be right. If you look at the expressway, for example, and I think we discussed here with, Dr. Muluka, Baraka Muluka, sometimes back, that, for example, 117 billion, assuming let's give him 117 billion, okay? If you are to repay this debt, BITOC, I'm not an economist, but I've sat down with economists, you actually do not need 10 years. It could even be less. You just need to allow as many Kenyans to use this road at whatever minimal cost. And within 5-10 years, we have repaid it. But guess what they have done? They have created a company, a private company, which I'm told is associated with the current regime. That's state capture. And that company is going to be collecting toll for the next 60 years. 60 years. So they are subjecting us to a 117 billion loan for them to collect trillions of Kenya shillings out of what they are calling a public debt. You see? So, yes, we need accountability on these debts. There's no two way about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we need a bit of the debt that we were saying. That's a public debt. But Njigi is calling it a haste. He's saying the haste of a century. The haste of all haste.
Well, and you know what I'm happy about Wanjigi expose? Wanjigi is now telling us a story that Kenyans also must reflect, because Wanjigi also has come out openly to say the Jubilee government was actually formed in his house. And in his home in Muthaiga.
Yes.
So we should take him seriously. I think yes.
He knows what he's talking about.
He knows what he's talking about. If he was one of the architects of the Jubilee government, we must take Jimmy Wanjigi very seriously. But we also must now tell Wanjigi hata pia confess. What else does he know that we do not know? Mwambie tu afungue roho.
He has made enough conversions, but he has said part 2 is coming up. So maybe we need to challenge him to bring the part 2 very quickly.
We need it quickly.
And in fact, the part 2.
Why can't he bring part 2 before Kenyans go to the vote so that they can make a decision?
Alikuwa amesema he waits for it out to see how it's going to sink. These are the
No.
But I think we need to challenge him this week.
No, he must bring it now so that Kenyans,
see.
So that Kenyans can make a decision immediately.
All right. Okay. Abbas, you're going to say is one day a member of the Parliamentary Budget Committee raised an alarm about performing dismally economically, and even alleged it's only the books which are cooked to look good. CS Finance immediately held a press briefing that we were doing quite well and that country is not even broke. That was the beginning of him being sent packing. Remember that? Frederick Kiprop Kemba following from Cabernet could see you. Evans Biwat. Ask EKURU what happens when a sitting president refuses to hand over after the IBC has declared someone the winner. Maybe that's a very important question because that's the worry of many people.
Yes.
What happens? Jamaa akisema mimi sipeani kisu.
He has no option constitutionally, because I think we even have a timeline within which whether you unapeana kisu. That kupeana hiyo kisu is symbolic. The real kisu or power, the real sword of power is the declaration of one as president, unless it is challenged in the Supreme Court of Kenya. The rest are ceremonies. In fact, if I was running for president and I'm lucky to win the presidency, I'm not even bothered with those ceremonies. Once I've been declared, I just need the CJ to come and swear me in. Whether Uhuru hands over power or not, it's irrelevant, constitutionally speaking.
Okay.
What's symbolic, what is important, is the declaration of one Kenyans participating in an election, casting their ballot, their vote to choose their president. That's why it's very important for us to actually make a decision to vote. Number 2, the declaration by the IEBC of one as president. Number 3, unless there is a dispute, what the Supreme Court decides. Number 4, the swearing in by the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya of one under the Constitution. In fact, that transfer of sword, whatever, is just symbolism. It's symbolism, but it is not superior to the Constitution. What is most superior is me taking oath of office under the Constitution of Kenya and saying, I, EKURU AUKOT, swear, that's what's most important.
Swear.
Yes.
All right. So what are the chances of, because we have also been speaking about, if you hear about the conversation that have been going on, about those rigging, about the government refusing to hand over power, about this, what are the possibilities, first of all, of rigging a presidential election?
First of all, let me tell you, yesterday I sat with a very good friend of mine who is an IT expert and who has worked on matters election for the longest time. He's telling me it's impossible in this day and age to actually rig an election. You're saying if you were to rig, for example, 270 votes per polling stations, you will have to rig at least 70 votes in a number of polling stations.
Okay.
And right now, the transmission is real time. Yeah, you cannot rig a transmission. Yeah. So from the IT perspective, and luckily, even this clueless Chebukati has now said media can attend. Can attend the, and I'll tell you why I'm using the word clueless, because we will go back to the question of nomination. Because somebody has asked a question, why am I not in the presidential ballot? Not to end up, because it's important to explain why some people should not even be hold public office. So, according to my friend who is an IT expert who I know has worked in many elections before, he says it's impossible to rig an election. And especially now that they're allowing people to transmit the results real time, unless I don't know what miracle will happen, but it will be impossible to steal. You may try to steal 1 or 2, but if you have to steal 70 per vote in a constituency, that's almost not in a polling station. That's an impossibility.
All right, before we go to IBC, because I think that will be a very long conversation, do you have any review of the presidential debate, both the deputy presidents and the presidential debate as well, the flag bearers? On the first debate, we had Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua. We had a convention. We also had the first one, which had the other guys. And the one for Roots Party seems to have stood out for that. Now we had Rigathi and Martha Karua, and a lot of people are saying that they didn't expect Rigathi to do what he did, but he did that thing. To end up presidency,
first of all,
the other guys refused to show.
Let me make a point here, and I want to anchor it within the Constitution.
Okay.
First of all, the way the presidential debates are being held is very discriminatory. The determinant factor of whether you run for to be president of Kenya or not is the Constitution and the law. This presidential commission, whatever thing, is complete rubbish to me, especially if they are not complying with the law. The qualifications for you to run for president of Kenya are contained in Article 137 of the Constitution of Kenya. You must be a Kenyan citizen, you must be sponsored by a party or independent, all those things. And I want Kenyans to go and read for themselves. So that is the equality we must subject all presidential candidates. All 4 of them should have been in that podium, even if it is for 4 hours. Because that's the equality within the Constitution. And the Constitution of Kenya is the highest law in the land. Nothing like a poll star or whatever can replace Article 137 of the Constitution. So all presidential candidates ought to have been treated equally at the same time. Because after all, we are going to vote for one of them. Using our law, it's not the presidential commission, that presidential debate commission, that will determine who becomes the president of Kenya. And they are already trying to do that by saying some candidates are fringe candidates and some candidates are, high tier candidate. That's complete rubbish. And you can also see how, for example, the pollsters are being used. Because I know how those pollsters work. If today Bitok, you and I sponsored a question, which we pay about 70,000 per question, definitely it has to be favorable to you because you are sponsoring it.
Sinilipe moja hata kama siko kwa tiketi.
Kile tulipe tuseme kwa nini?
Tuchange. Tutadivide.
Yes.
Wataka waseme mimi na yeye tunaongoza.
So having said that, I looked at the Rigathi Martha Karua debate. Obviously, Rigathi Gachagua floored Martha Karua. First of all, you don't come to a presidential debate looking angry, and tired, and I don't know, I'm not conversant with basic things. I mean, what caught my attention, like, how can you come from a country like Kirinyaga, where there are farmers, and you don't know the price of fertilizer in this country? So anyway, having said that, I just think, like, of course, the debate was okay. I think the Martha Karua Gachagua debate, was okay. I think there are a discussion around issues. I cannot say that there was a debate about between Raila and Ruto because it was a monolithic the conversation. So you can't call it a debate. It's a misnomer to even refer to it as a debate in the first instance. I think it was an interview. Ruto was being interviewed.
Someone said it was a grilling session.
Whatever the case is, but I think it was just a one-man show. And so thirdly, I will also say,
intimate moment.
Thirdly, I will also say, the same now. There are Zimia guys who actually chickened out. In 2017, He accepted to come to the debate. Well, because now his political godfather chickened out. So the same thing, you can see. You know, so why did he refuse to come to the debate? If truly, because see, the idea of this public debate is so that people of Kenya are able to measure you and to hear you on real issues that you are being discussed, not the vijana way in rallies, because that vijana way and in rallies doesn't really explain things like, for example, national debt, what you're doing about agriculture, what you're doing about health, what you're doing about education, what you're doing about economy. You don't hear those conversations in political rallies. There are many Kenyans who are just curious onlookers because of joblessness. Ruto is passing by, tunaenda tuko yini to pass time. Tomorrow Raila anapita, pia huko tunaenda let's go and pass time. Umesikia mtu akutingisha miti anakuja Wajakoya, tuende tumuone anakaa namna gani. So Kenyans rallies don't communicate too much.
Na mmegeuzia bwana Wajakoya amekuwa club host. Unaona siku anazunguka kwa bar. Someone had posted akasema mmegeuzia presidential candidate has become a club host.
The other day I saw Nani, what is the name of this man? The governor for Nairobi anaanza kukatekatia sukuma wiki siku hizi down the job. Siku moja utaenda nyumbani ukute Igathe amekupikia dinner.
Aliza wanaambia watoto msipike, Igathe anakuja. Right. Let's see.
The good thing about these debates, like we talk, it has also exposed a lot of dishonesty. And the ignorance. I think, in my view, there ought to have been some really serious interrogation. For example, in the debate about when Ruto was now speaking by himself, I missed to see him being taken to task about the fact that where does he extricate himself as a deputy president in the light of the many problems and challenges that Kenyans have faced under the administration in which he served. Where did he extricate himself and what did he do about it? You see, it was not enough for me for William Ruto to say, mimi nilinyimwa kazi, I was relegated, but why? Again, questions of integrity ought to have risen in that debate. Why do you hang on into a government that actually has shown you don't care? We are not drawing examples, for example, from other countries, successful countries. By the way, countries where we go to benchmark, like say Britain and others. Look at Boris Johnson the other day. He just realized his prime ministership in the UK is becoming untenable. So I have no point of forcing myself to be the prime minister.
And the reason why he resigned is very interesting. Yes. And because he had a party during COVID. Exactly. Because now his integrity was in question. The same things with people, someone like David Cameron, Theresa May, and others, and many, many others. Once your public office is being doubted or is being undermined, I think it's unfair for you to continue holding that office, and benefiting from taxpayers' money when you're not actually delivering for them. I think the opposite obtains in our country, because our politics in Kenya is about personal gratification. It's about you benefiting. It's not even about the people who took you to parliament, and which is why you can see, even from the report you sent me this morning about the many packs that members of parliament are getting, it's about themselves. There is no justification why you will say, I want to go and benchmark on a healthcare from Riyadh. But you come back and you don't even tell us what were the findings in Riyadh. And how do I factor that into my constituency, into the country generally? So, new easy to, it's public, broad day robbery of taxpayers' money to benefit an individual. We pay him 152,000 or 51,000 to go and sleep in someone. Some of them don't even sleep. They just go manga rinuko, in some funny places. It's not a laughing matter. Let me tell you, there is a report about a committee of parliament that went to see, I don't know whether they are going to benchmark with Rwanda, but they went to Kigali. I think it was immediately after the 2007, 2008 post-election violence. I'm assuming that they were supposed to go and learn some lessons from the genocide museum in Kigali. The guys never even visited the museum. I think they were mesmerized by the beautiful Rwandese, Tutsi Hutu girls, and they forgot about benchmarking. Because even if you go to the Kigali, I don't know, have you been to Kigali? Yes, I've been to Kigali.
And have you been to the museum? Because in the museum, what Kagame has done, he has said that lest we forget. You go there as a Rwandese national today. First of all, you will not hear the Hutu Tutsi lingua. You will not hear sisi sijui kutoka Mount Kenya region, sisi sijui kutoka Rift Valley. No. There you go as a Rwandese and you actually forced to watch how you killed each other, you kill your relatives, you kill your wife, you killed your husband, and hoping that it will touch your heart, prick your consciousness, and don't repeat it again. That is the building of nationalism.
So we need to build something for politics. But now what do you build? Because ours are more corrupt.
You know, for me, if you ask me, if there is one thing that I would have loved to do is actually to build a museum of the corrupt public thieves in Kenya. Ukishikwa unaweka huko alafu naambia wa Kenya kuna free ticket. Nini muangalia hao watu vile wanakaa kwa hizo cages.
Tutengeneza zoo. Kama kuna zoo.
Yeah, like a zoo for thieves of public money. There's no grooming, there's no shaving. Paka ume ukaya kama Nebuchadnezzar of the Bible.
Wazo kula nyasi. All right. 34 minutes past 8 a.m. 34 minutes past 8 a.m. Let's go straight to IBC. When we come back, we look at the today's dailies, and then we also look tuangalie mambo ya masokoni. Do you support the creation of a zoo for the corrupt politicians? Eti. Anasema do you support the creation of a zoo for politicians who are corrupt? Anasema ukipatikana kama ni mfisadi wanakufungia pale, there's no shaving, there's no grooming, there's nothing until you look like a real chimpanzee. Sasa EKURU aliandanga wapi? Anasema endeni pale Uhuru. I think Uhuru Park would be the best place.
Yes.
Unaweza hapo Uhuru Park. Unaambiwa kuja enda Uhuru Park kuona, ndakuja ndakupata umemea kila mahali. And your records and your corrupt records are just right behind you.
And you know, it's not impossible to create such an image, because during COVID, when the country was under lockdown, people acquired different looks during COVID. Just imagine that during COVID 1 year. So imagine kama wewe ni mwizi wa mali ya umma, umefungiwa pale for 10 years. Hakuna kushave, hakuna nini. Kama uko na kipara hapa katikati, bitok. Na huku kando ni hizo manywele zimemea tu hivi. Anyway, it's good to talk about a serious issue.
I mean, it's funny, but it's a serious matter. Yeah. All right, IBC, how did you end up here?
Now, IBC, to be honest with you, if I had the chance, I would have dissolved IBC. Okay. Not because we did not make it to the ballot, because for a number of reasons. And you know, let me give Kenyans a history. In 2017, I ran for president of Kenya. Luckily for me, I was cleared by the same person who refused to clear me this year. And I used the same documentation, same supporting documents this year. But my problem with Chebukati, and that's why I call him clueless Chebukati, and sometimes I actually feel that I'm embarrassed even to share a profession such as the legal profession with some people, because the reading of the law for me, especially in some simple, we're not even asking you to interpret, just read the provisions of the law. Really ought not to be difficult for somebody who claims to have been a lawyer for over 30 plus years. Now, the problem I have with IBC is this. IBC has lacked to account for its actions, for its activities. Let me start with a question, for example, of registration of voters. Okay? Voter registration is supposed to be a continuous process.
Yes.
Okay? IBC has not given us a report to say how many people they register. For example, from the diaspora. I go back to the diaspora, because this is a constituency that has been left out.
And you went there to benchmark.
Yes. And they went to benchmark, surprisingly. So, no report. What has IBC been doing for the last 4 years? IBC cannot just be IBC when it comes to either by elections or during the election year. So that's one. Number two, I found IBC, especially the person of Chebukati, as a national returning officer for the presidents, as a person who is incapable of reading the law. Let me give you my example. And I will also use other examples so that I'm not seen as just as a whining, aspirant. When I went to present my paperwork to Chebukati, and we did this one, first of all, on the 25th, we complied with a number of issues. because I said earlier on that election is a process in Kenya.
Yes.
Okay? I'll just start from where, as a political party that wants to field in a candidate, you must submit the rules of nomination 6 months to election. No, 6 months to the nomination. Okay? Last year is when Third Way Alliance Kenya submitted the rules of nomination relating to myself and all other candidates in our party. Then you present, the names of your running mates, voter list, certain times. Then you present now your supporter list. So I presented my supporter list on the 25th of June. Yeah? No, of May. Yeah, it was 25th of May. Okay? Together with all those documentation. And one of the things that I did not do deliberately, because I know it was also a lie, is what they say, bring photocopies of IDs. Okay. Bitok, I can tell you today, hata we mwenye ukupeana photocopy ID yako.
Sijaipeana.
And I have asked many people, how many Kenyans out there, including now the tacklers who are listening to us, how many of you actually gave a photocopy of your ID to a politician, to a presidential candidate?
How many of you?
How many of you? None. And so I told Chebukati, under Article 137 of the Constitution of Kenya, photocopies of ID is not a requirement. After all, it's unconstitutional. And he said, no, but there was Regulation 18C of the Elections Act. We told him that section, it's just a regulation. It's even inferior to that Elections Act. It's even more inferior to the Constitution. And Chebukati said, because you have not presented those photocopies of ID, I am disqualifying you. Because I did not present, can you imagine the fellow even had the audacity to doubt my certificate, my degree certificate?
Yeah, go ahead, Doctor.
Yes, that my degree certificate was not certified by university. I told him, how does a university certify a degree certificate? I don't doubt my degree certificate. I have got Commissioner for Oaths and Notary Public even here with me, and he has already notarized that document. And it's the same document he used to clear me last election, 2017. Then he says, my banker's check of 200,000 was incorrectly addressed. Bitok, if a check is incorrectly addressed, why don't you just say, okay, correct this and bring it back? Then the other thing he said was that I did not present the requisite number of supporters from the 24 counties. We presented 27 counties. And we asked him, okay, give us a report. How did you verify? How did you do the verification? He never gave a report to date as we speak. Now, let me now contrast that on how other candidates were treated. Tingisha Miti, aka Professor Wajakoya, goes to IEBC.
Alisema T is silent.
Yes. So Wajakoya presents supporter list of only 17 counties. He was short of 7 counties. And he was told, go and regularize. Wajakoya was given 3 days. A miracle happened. Within those 3 days,
He had them.
He had them. Yeah. He had 14,000 and then 14,000 voters, 14,000 photocopies of IDs. That's a miracle. But I was never given that chance. My good friend, Comrade Ruben Kigame, who you've hosted, Kigame was told, no, your counties are not sufficient enough. Go and regularize. Come back. When he went to Bomas, Kigame was locked outside the Bomas, the main Bomas gate. He was not even allowed to come anywhere closer to the hall. Yeah? Mwaure, the same. And that's why I'm saying both Wajakoya and Mwaure, with all due respect, are just political flower girls in this presidential race.
Umeingiza mpaka Bishop kwa hii maneno ya flower girls.
But it's the truth. It's the truth. Mwaure did not also have the requisite number of counties, but was given time to go and regularize. Okay? Let's go to Nyambane. Nyambane goes to Bomas of Kenya. He's told, but you don't have a degree certificate. Where is your degree certificate? He said, no, but I have got transcripts. I actually went to Daystar University. These are my transcripts. But EKURU AUKOT goes with a certificate from the University of Nairobi. And he's told, no, it's not certified. But somebody brings in transcripts and he's qualified and cleared to run for presidency. Then comes Jimmy Wanjigi, also without a degree certificate, but with transcripts. And he's told, no, you don't qualify because you don't have
a degree.
Then after degree. Yeah? Then because Nani said, but I thought you cleared on Nyambane. based on the transcripts.
Then they called Nyambane again.
Then they called Nyambane and cancelled it.
Rudisha ile kitu.
and many other examples I can give. So the mistreatment of all the credible presidential candidates was so deliberate by IEBC to lock them out. Okay? But let me now come to what people, I'm sure Azimio people will tukana me today, but let be there. They cleared an Azimio candidate called Raila Amolo Odinga. First of all, there cannot be a candidate for Azimio in this presidential election. We have an illegality ab initio from the very beginning. The membership of Azimio La Umoja coalition political party are corporate members. So ODM, there's KANU, there's all those others. There's Jubilee and the rest. According to the law and the constitution of Kenya, only a Kenyan citizen can run for presidency of Kenya. Not a company, not a political party.
Nini company?
And then secondly, you cannot be a member of two political parties at the same time. It is against the Political Parties Act. More specifically, I think Section 27 or Section 5 of that Act. Okay? In court papers, and I raised this issue even in court papers in a dispute. And Raila Odinga's lawyers admitted that yes, Odinga is a member of ODM, is actually the party leader of ODM, and there's paperwork to that extent, and I'm more than happy to send you an initiate with your group.
Yes, please.
But they say he's also nominated by a political party called Azimio La Umoja. Because Azimio La Umoja is not a coalition. It's a coalition political party under Section 5, Section 6 of the Political Parties Act. So you cannot, there's no candidate for Azimio as we speak. To candidate Bonoko, who is, seriously. Besides, let's go to the educational qualification of some of these individuals. It's a fact out there, Raila does not even have a primary certificate degree. certificate. Leave alone a university certificate. But these all people are cleared by IEBC to run. So in other words, IEBC is actually under state capture, and especially the person of Chebukati. And that's why a lot of Kenyans, and we go back to how we started this conversation, 25% of Kenyans are disillusioned. They don't know what to do. They don't have trust in IEBC. And you can see already the shenanigans that's happening inside the IEBC. So we don't really have a honest referee. If he had followed the law and the constitution, then, we have no problem. And I take you back to where we started this conversation, where I said that the Supreme Court of Kenya had judged that election in Kenya is a process, not an event. So you must comply with the process, including how you follow the law.
It's not a destination, it's a journey.
It's a journey. So if you mess somewhere along that journey,
you consider.
Then that election is already bungled, it's already an illegality. And you see, this is exactly why Justice Maraga nullified the presidential vote of Uhuru Kenyatta in 2017, because he said there were irregularities committed in the process of transmission. So it wasn't just about when we cast the vote. It's how you also handle that vote process, how you handle the vote. So if you look at the way these nominations were handled, with all these examples I've given, and there are many, many others, as we speak, we don't have presidential candidates. Yeah.
We speak
because if somebody was qualified on an illegality called photocopies of IDs, and then another one was disqualified based on the same illegality, is that fair even before the law? It is not. And let me give you now. Let me now give you a bombshell. Bitok. You yourself, you have admitted. You never gave a photocopy of your ID to a politician. Even right now as you speak, there's a lot of scamming using just our SIM cards. Many Kenyans are losing millions of Kenya shillings to scammers, to thieves, to internet thieves, including police officers themselves who've lost lots of money. Can you trust a politician in Kenya, a presidential particularly, with a photocopy of your ID?
Anatembea nayo.
Let's look at even the practicality of it. Okay? Let's say, Bitok, hata nimekuja huko kwenu Moiben. Nimeenda huko mashinani kwa village fulani. Naambia watu I'm running for president. And we did that. Yeah? And people are telling me, no, EKURU, I like the punguza mizigo, nitakupatia sahihi. Lakini idea yangu hapana.
Sigina hajaiko na baya.
Sigina hajaiko. And even if they were willing to give me a photocopy of the ID, first of all, people, for example, in the rural areas, even here in Nairobi, do you walk with a photocopy of your ID to give to a politician?
No.
It means either have to collect your 48,000 IDs, I go to a cyber cafe or to a photocopier, I photocopy, then I come back and I say, okay, pangeni laini sasa, ndio hii ID yenu. Did you see that happen?
ID na kakitu.
I have asked people in the media, and you are in the media yourself, yes. How come you guys never covered a single event where a presidential candidate actually was collecting photocopies of IDs? Or even signatures of supporters? How come? How come you have not reported that? Because there was nothing happening. So basically what is happening is this, and I'll give you an example of what happened, because we took some time to do our research. A lot of these folks were cleared, You know, as we didn't have a problem at Study Alliance Kenya, and I can tell you this for a fact, because we had undertaken an exercise that was very successful in the collection of signatures for the Punguza Mizigo. So it wasn't even a problem for us. Okay? A lot of these guys, what they did, they sent agents to 24 counties. They raided M-Pesa shops.
Okay.
Yeah? They bought that list. Then they put in some boy somewhere to do the maths. Now, the other thing they are not able to do is photocopies of these IDs, because these photocopies of these IDs are not there. There can only be 2 sources or 3 sources of how you get photocopies of IDs of any Kenyan in this country. The Department of Immigration, that's the Registrar of Persons, NTSA, and Safaricom. Okay. Now, let me now jog Kenya's memory. Are you surprised that Safaricom was asking Kenya to re-register their SIM cards? And this is not the first time they're asking us to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
And upload your ID.
Upload your ID. So, these so-called IDs, and we looked at examples of some of them. They are like screenshots. They're either lifted from NTSA, and it's even NTSA, you can have a driving license, but you may not be a registered voter. And we have asked Chebukati, and this matter is in court, we have asked Chebukati.
How do you confirm?
In fact, we won that case before Justice Mrima. Justice Mrima gave us a favor. Justice Mrima said, photocopies of ID is not a requirement, it's an illegality. Yeah, it's unconstitutional. But we are not stopping there, because, Bitok, this is part of a larger war to seek electoral justice in this country. We are going to still drag clueless Chebukati to court to ask him, we want you to produce the list of supporters of the 4 presidential candidates you cleared, photocopies of those IDs, and we want a court-supervised scrutiny. Let me shock you what you will find, and I'm not a prophet of doom here. You will find that supporter number 1, ID and the photocopy do not match up to the last person. That I can assure you for free. Okay. And we can bet on that. We will go to court, because Chebukati must account for how he has managed this election, because an illegality in the management of this election could actually end up in nullifying this election.
In its entirety?
In August. Okay. Yeah? And that will have costed Kenyans billions of Kenyan shillings. So if there is candidate number 1 to that zoo we have talked about, it should be this Chebukati. Guest number 1.
Mgeni wa kwanza. Wakufanya groundbreaking.
Yes.
It is 51 minutes past 8 a.m. 51 minutes past 8 a.m. Hope you're doing well. Looking at the traffic situation in Nairobi, Langata Road as usual doesn't look very good. Kama kawaida, Langata Road doesn't look very good all the way from 1824 Whiskey Bar. Not looking good until pale Timor roundabout. It's cleared up. Usually jamo inaanzia pale Langata Police Station, but today starting at 1824, so probably you could get a clear way towards the CBD. Looking at Nyayo Stadium as well, there's some little traffic at Nyayo Stadium, but towards the roundabout, and also towards the Bunyala roundabout, and also towards the Lusaka roundabout, there's some little bit of traffic also heading towards the CBD. Kidogo tu, lakini sio mingi. Looking at Waiyaki Way getting into town inbound from Waiyaki Way inbound getting into town, it looks all clear. Thika Road looks a bit some little jam as well, lakini sio mbaya zaidi kwa sababu jam inaanzia pale Mathare Hospital, Mental Hospital, heading to Muthaiga Exchange. Yeah, Kiambu Road looks all clear. Nothing to worry about. It's some little traffic pale DCI headquarters, but nothing to really worry about on Kiambu Road. Limuru Road all clear. And to Muthaiga Road as well, looking all clean. Nothing to really worry about. Which road is this? Oh, looking at Limuru Road as well. Kuanzia pale Oil Libya heading into CBD. Doesn't look very good, but it's normal. It was heading towards CBD. Mambo kuna kwanga na jam hapo kidogo. Ngong Road, looking at Ngong Road, all clear on Ngong Road. Nothing to worry about on Ngong Road. Looking all clear. Some little traffic only from the Kenyatta roundabout heading towards Total Alingam, not looking very good, but I mean that's only traffic that you can see on Ngong Road. Queen's Connect very clear, nothing to worry about. Kithanga Road as well very clear. Kileleshwa Kilimani area looking all good as well, heading towards the Yaya Center. Looking at Kingara Road, some little traffic at Kingara Road only ends at the Riara Exchange, so nothing to really worry about on Kingara Road. Naivasha Road all clear as well. Kithanga Road coming in from Kwangware all clean, nothing to worry about this morning. Dilangata Road tu peke yake inaonekana kama kuna shida. Jogoo Road looks good. Nothing to worry about on Jogoo Road. I'm not saying nothing to really worry about on Jogoo Road. Okay, unless there is anything that you think should be of concern to you on the road this morning, I think it's all clear. Nothing to really worry about. Within the industrial area, there seems to be some little traffic as well. Zile na kawaida industrial area, mambo reverse, songa mbele, rudi nyuma. Outer Ring Road looks all clean, heading towards Donholm. Donholm is all clean as well this morning. I think you want to manza kwenda kazini. Mombasa Road very clean as well. Nothing to worry about. Take the newspapers very quickly. Angalia hapo wakazi ya Chebukati. Alright, kura za 2022 katika tukio lisilo la kawaida kwao kuafikiana kuhusu swala lolote. Ruto na Raila wameshikana kulalamikia kile wanachosema ni uchapishaji wa nakala mbili za fomu za kutangaza matokeo ya urais katika vituo vya kupigia kura. Amesema form 34A or is it B ambayo zimeduplicatiwa mara mbili. Ruto na Raila washikana kutaka ABC kufafanua kuhusu uchapishaji wa nakala mbili za matokeo ya urais. Vyama vikuu vya kausha maasla. Uteuzi uliofanywa onyesha vigogo hawajali raia wa kawaida. Okay, siku 10 za kufa kupona kwa wagombeaji waniaji mbioni kufikia wafuasi wao katika maeneo ambayo hawajazuru. Haya, katika gazeti ya Daily Nation sema IBC calls for talks. That is IBC Chebukati has called for talks. The two presidential candidates are looking pale juu regarding loses 200 million dirty cash quote in quote to state. Kana kwamba ameweza kupoteza pesa kwa serikali. Diamond Platnumz has no apologies for FT fees for his slaps on artists. Okay. A village of young widows pay rise in disguise for MPs. Yeah, they have said they have removed, and it was very interesting. Amesema was due to tumetoa sitting allowance, but when you see, when you look at what has actually the new reviewed salaries, actually they're getting even more than it was in the first instance. And also we need to look at what we are talking about on the Business Daily, and it's about the travel by MPs. How much they're able to reckon when they travel outside the country. On the Business Daily, 680 hotels sold to Manzoni at shillings 1.2 billion deal. House prices rise at fastest rate in 11 years. While Gachagua lost 100 million to the state, he has lost 19 billion total transactions in his account. 1.2 billion as counting up here. You can look at the today's standard. Ugali lies. Who is fooling who on Chief Flour? Inasemekana wa Kenyans are yet to get the 100 shillings unga even after Uhuru Kenyatta announced the new price of unga. Akasema questioned you. No pay rise for president as MPs lose allowances. I think it's a scam. When you look at the reviewed salaries, actually, they are getting more than they've been getting. FT pay for poll winners, that is on the People Daily. And this is actually the right perception by the People Daily. There's a lot of money that are going to go into elected members of the society, elected leaders. Gachagua millions came from crime. Raila versus Ruto, the Mudavadi Kalonzo factor. Okay? Looks like it's Mudavadi versus Kalonzo in those two coalitions. I don't know if there's any comments that you want to make, Dr. on that. But even before we go to that, maybe you can read to Kenyans this thing that both of us were reading. And it's about the packs by MPs. This is the story from the Business Daily, and I'll read it very quickly. It's on July 25th, 2022. How packs drove foreigner trips choices. Okay, a section of 11 MPs from Northeastern at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi match. I think let me share it with you, Steve, so that you can see if you can screen it for them as I'm reading through it. I'll send you the link. You can open it meanwhile. When we got it, you can screen it. Okay, Dubai, Riyadh, Istanbul, Singapore, Geneva, and New York were the top destinations for MPs in the 5-year tenure of parliament as the choice of place appeared to follow packs. Inasemekana ya kwamba they decide where to go, depending on how many per diem they're being given. Now, this is a story. A Business Daily analyst of the travel destinations for committees of the 12th Parliament, whose term ends on August 8, shows that legislators made numerous trips to these cities that attract the highest amounts in per diem, and it mattered little the value of the trip on the oversight roll. Here's the story. They made a decision on where to go, depending on the per diem, you know, without even considering the value,
They never went to any single African
value of
country.
that trip. The value of that trip. So let's read the figures for the figures for Kenyans. So there is the contrast. Why did they make the decision on where to go? First thing is because of the per diems. Ni pesa ngapi.
And they don't even sleep in a
Secondly,
five-star hotel.
they don't care about the value of the oversight roll. So let's look at the numbers and the figures that are coming in. Okay, the cities offer lawmakers the most lucrative per diems, led by Singapore, where an MP earns 152,928 per night. That is Singapore. That's Singapore. How much? 152,928 per diem. Per what? Per night. Followed by 141,128 on trips to the US. Ukienda America per night. And these guys, they never go for anything other 10 days.
Yeah.
They never go for
2
anything
weeks
other 10
actually.
days. So ukienda for America per night, unapata 141,128. London, 130,000. Ukienda London, 130,744 a night. MPs, however, made minimal trips to African capitals, which attract less per diem, like Maseru, the capital of Lesotho, where they earn 52,000 at the current exchange rate. Wakienda Lesotho, ama anywhere within Africa, wanapata pesa ngapi? 52,000. So they never went there. They say there's no benchmarking to do there. Okay. A circular issued by the Parliamentary Service Commission showed that the trips to Dubai and Geneva, other popular destinations for training and benchmarking trips for MPs, earned them shillings 104,902 and Kenya shillings 130,036 respectively in per diem. That is Dubai, Nawapi, and Geneva. And that is why they went most. The majority of the global trotting MPs travel to the high-paying destinations for benchmarking visits, fact-finding missions, and conferences rather than to undertake key investigations that form part of the oversight mandate. Our Kenyans, you're listening very carefully.
No, let's go to what they went to do. It's something about the committees on.
All right. The committee undertook the following foreign travel activities during the 5th session. Capacity building in Dubai. So for this to make sense, capacity building in Dubai. So how much do they make in Dubai?
So what is capacity building and on what?
In Dubai they make 104,902. Okay? In Dubai. Yeah. So the committee undertook the following travel capacity building in Dubai from 11th to 20th. Those are 11 days.
Yeah.
That is 1.1 million. Clean money, untaxed. This money is very untaxed. Okay, I think that's a table on per diem. A sample of various end-of-term reports show that the 5 out of 8 committees made more than 2 trips to Dubai, UAE, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Istanbul, Turkey, Singapore, Geneva, Switzerland, and Washington, USA, for either benchmarking or conferences. The committees, which were expected to file reports on return, including health, labor, ICT, energy, and justice and legal affairs. There's no reports that came back from those.
No reports.
Zero reports, nothing, nada, zilch. The Departmental Committee on Health topped the list of house teams that made the highest trips abroad, having traveled 23 times over the first 5 years. So 1.1 million times 23, that is almost 25 million. 27 million on per diems only that you paid per MP who travel for those things. Okay. The Finance and National Planning, that of Justice and Legal Affairs, came in second with 19 trips, each while the Defense and Foreign Relations Committee, whose main mandate is to oversight Kenya's missions abroad, made 16 towards the various parts of world capitals. Others are the Department for Committee on Education 16, Labor and Social Welfare 14, ICT 15, Agriculture 11, and you can imagine agriculture, there's no reform, 0. And energy. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee made 3 trips to Dubai, the last being fact-finding mission. It's very interesting. I love this because we're talking about diaspora. The one for Justice and Legal Affairs is an interesting one. Can zoom it out kidogo. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee made 3 trips to Dubai, the last being a fact-finding mission on diaspora registration of voters that took place between May 23 to 29 of 2022.
And that's why I was asking the question earlier. That's why I was asking the question earlier. Can IBC today produce a list of diasporians that actually have registered as voters We want to see that report. And what are the arrangements for these diasporans to vote in this
in this country? That is very interesting. Over the 5 years, the committee has been in place. The committee has done both benchmarking visits as well as conference to learn best practices in other jurisdictions to improve the effectability, examining its mandate. The Budget and Appropriation Committee said in its exit report, droves of Kenyan lawmakers also toured top world capitals in the UK, France, Japan, Germany, China, Canada, Denmark, Portugal, Spain, Belgium. In Africa, I mean.
Post there, the talk. If you go, for example, to the justice and fact finding on the diaspora registration, so what was the effect of that?
Zero.
If IEBC was not even there to go and register.
The effect was you losing money as a citizen.
Such a shame, man.
I think if you're not mad enough as a citizen of this country, then I don't know what the hell can make you mad. If you're not mad enough at this point, kama unasikia ni una hasira ya kutosha, I don't know, kuna ile gani unakasirika, unalia na unacheka, ujue ufanye nini?
But you see,
what do you make of this, Doctor?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You know, I think maybe when it comes to Kenyan politics, especially when we're doing election, I think witchcraft is real.
Tubarogwa.
Me, I don't believe in it. But how can people throng political rallies even when they do not have food? When they know there was an agriculture committee that went to benchmark. Is it Dubai or in a desert country?
Jangwani.
Na akitoka kwa hiyo rally, ajua ataenda kukula nini. Sinakwambia ni uchawi.
Witchcraft is real. So in other story, wamesema unga bado haijafika. Sijui mahali ulipo unga imefika shilingi 100 ama inakuaje. Na kwa mtu aliuliza swali, kama nilikopa unga ikiwa 250. Na sasa imepunguza imekuwa 100. Inafaa nilipe pesa ngapi? Haya, swala nyeti. Twende masokoni kidogo. I will remind you that Optiven is the only place to get the best property deals. Optiven Kenya Limited continues to inspire possibilities by ensuring that you can create land at most accessible rates. We still have very beautiful properties in Nanyuki. I was in Nanyuki over the weekend at the Great Oasis Gardens in Nanyuki. I'm giving you the best deals on properties at only 349,000 Kenyan shillings. You get one a piece of Nanyuki. All opposite at the Mount Kenya Holiday Homes. Imagine 349 only. 349,000 only, you get an eighth of a property at the Great Oasis. And also, you can even get as much as all 5 acres and get to build your preferred investment as well. They are saying bigger is better at the Great Oasis. 1,000 acres on offer at the Great Oasis Gardens in Nanyuki by Optiven. Ya niliona pale kuna jamaa amenunua bana 5 acres anajenga hospitali. Kuna mwingine amenunua ingine anaweka shule. There's someone else who is doing a kayak. I mean, it's interesting what is going on there. And the location is quite amazing. You can rush in before as property last. Kwa sababu niliona zinaenda. When I was there, they're putting stickers on almost all the properties that's on offer. They can tell you that also at Optiven Limited, we're giving you an opportunity to pay pole pole. Kuna malipo ya mdogo at Optiven Kenya Limited. You can pay as much as you can for the next 12 months. Can you imagine getting to own a property by paying malipo ya pole pole for 12 months? I mean, there could never be a better deal than that. Piga simu 790-300-300. Waambie nimekutuma na kupa discount kwa njia shwari zaidi. And also having properties in Malindi. We are doing the phase 2 of Malindi Breeze. Phase 2 of Malindi Breeze, we're giving you an opportunity to own a property at only 499,000 Kenya shillings. 499,000 Kenya shillings on offer. We're giving an opportunity to own a piece of Malindi. Can you imagine if that trip that you take down the road to the coast was a trip home? Imagine if you're driving home. If you're driving home, that trip you're driving to Mombasa, munaenda Malindi pale. Can you imagine if you're driving home? And also in Kitengela, we're giving you an array of property offers. We have the Victory Gardens as well. We are now at phase 3. Actually phase 4. We are done with 3 phases of the Victory Gardens in Meanda Zote. You're now having Happy Gardens. We're also having Happy Gardens as well on along the Namanga Road. And you can get the best deals as well on those properties with a flexible payment plan of up to 12 months. Watu wa Masaku pia, tuko na property pale. Watu wa Kajiado, tuko na mambo shwari pale pia. Celebration Garden Kitengela as well. We are ready for you. Celebration Garden, you need to look at that property. My friend, you'll be salivating. So talk to Optiven this morning, 1790-300-300. Waambie tumakutuma wanakupea discount safi zaidi. Watu wa diaspora wanasema, after all those millions that has been spent, can you imagine? They are saying, but we can't vote. Why, Paul? But we can't vote. Paul, I wish we could cry also on your behalf, but brother, this is your country. This is your country, brother. This is your country. After millions being spent on benchmarking and best practice on voting to ensure that the diasporans are registered, they still can't vote.
Imagine.
He can vote.
Imagine.
Should we cry now or recline it?
In fact, the question we should be asking, when these people even come for that diaspora benchmarking, do they even meet the diaspora? We are not even told actually whether they had a meeting with the diaspora representatives and what are the details, and why have they not brought a report?
I want to know actually how many diasporans were registered and how many are able to vote.
That's the question we need to ask.
To vote. And I want to ask the diasporans, I'm thinking, get the graphics are there. I don't know, get the graphic. Are you registered? Joel Arama, I wish the chairman was here this morning. Joel Arama,
tuambia. Chairman
I don't know why Joel Arama angetuambia. I don't know, angetuambia. Yeye alisema ati he needs $1,000 to come and vote. He's asking, so why? What the hell is that? I spent over $1,000 to come and vote.
The same thing even here in Kenya, Bitok, If we had applied technology the way we had proposed, it's a paradox that there's a lot of money that's being spent on technology to manage an election, but you don't want to use technology to vote. For example, you've seen the shenanigans around. What is the name of that company? Smart something. Smartmatics. Yeah, we're talking billions of deploying just the voting. Yeah, if we are using billions for these foreign companies to come and basically manage our elections, why can't I be allowed to vote using my phone?
Yes.
I've said here before, Bitok, and I'll repeat it again. Today, Kenyans transact about 25 billion through M-Pesa, mobile money, daily. So what is so miraculous about just voting once in 5 years from my phone? The same way I can go to my phone now, I can go to do mobile banking, online banking. I can transfer money from one account to the other. I can transfer money to you. If I don't get it correct, I won't. Voting, we should be able to finish voting within maybe 2-3 hours. Yes. And we go about work.
Songe na maisha. All right, we close in the next 10 minutes. We end our broadcast in the 10 minutes. Tunaenda mahali pengine pia na EKURU AUKOT, tunaenda kibarua mahali kidogo. Metiwa kidogo kwenda kuongelesha wa Kenya pia. So we close in the next 10 minutes. We're opening up bunge la mwananchi for you, 0779-800-010. Number ni 0779-800-010. You can call in and contribute to the conversation, 0779-800-010. 0779-800-010. Kenya Graphics anasema tunaambiwa 2 days before kuenda DC kuregister and it will cost us $1,000.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, diaspora nauliza, that's what it will cost them.
And Bitok, the paradox is this. The Kenya government is investing a lot of money in the ICT. They even have a ministry of ICT. Okay? Today, for you to apply for anything in Kenya, you have to go to eCitizen. So why don't I go and register the same as a voter? Yeah? Why can't we have a EBC portal in that account the same way I can apply for?
Alafu natupa kura yako hapo.
Unatupa kura yako tu hapo. Kwanza una register pia online. If you can apply, people apply, for example, for a work permit, and I do immigration work for some of my clients. When I apply for work permit for, I see an investor work permit, do you know how much you pay? 400,000 Kenyan shillings. Some 200,000, depending on the class. So if a government of Kenya can trust me to transact 400,000 worth of a work permit, 200,000, why can't they trust me just to vote?
Forget even about that. If they can trust you to pay your taxes online.
Exactly, online.
All right, Bunga la Mwananchi Likwazi, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, mambo vipi?
Good morning.
How are you, mambo?
Sauti.
Salama sana, Bwana Bitok.
Naongea na nani?
Naongea na Vincent Barkutwa.
Sema Vini.
My question is, now that it is almost 10 days to go, what is the way forward for the ICC boss concerning his incompetency?
Okay.
Yes.
What is that?
The way for me on a question yake.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other question, Vini? Vini ametuacha. 0779-800-010. Bunge la Mwananchi Likwazi, nambari ni ile 0779-800-010. 0779-800-010. You can call in and contribute to the conversation as we are in. You're closing in the next 10 minutes. Ukifungiwa nje pod. 0779-800-010. I'm going to comment a little bit. Rene Rengi anasema Minnesota, USA pamoja, asante. Manuki Cheboson, but we can't vote. What the fuck? These guys are earning Kenyans on... Kenyans are earning. Kenyans are being ripped. Yes, by the MPs. Okay. I think there's someone who's calling in. Okay. All right, good morning. Bunga la Mwananchi, good morning. Bunga la Mwananchi, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Kama umetuacha kidogo. Bunge la Mwananchi, good morning.
Hey, Gerald, good morning.
Mambo vipi? Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, salamia EKURU.
Mesalimika sana, asante ndugu.
Aroni, mambo?
Niko na swali. Poa sana.
Uliza.
Hii story ya stickers, najua IBC katika jana na polisi waliongea. Lakini they didn't address the issue. Hawakuongelea hiyo issue ya stickers. So sijui ilifika wapi.
Mambo ya stickers.
Kuna shida. Yes, ya IBC.
Okay. Masikia daktari.
Tunakumbuka hizi alikuwa ameshika watu.
Stickers, what do you mean?
Venezuelans.
Oh, Venezuelans.
Yes.
Okay. Haya. Mambo ya swali lingine?
Kuna swali lingine nimeshangaa tu kusikia wabunge wanaenda nje hizi trips
Umesikia bwana, mtu bwana unapata millions of money bwana, tax free money.
I think that's the reason why watu wanataka kusimama.
Kila mtu anataka kusimama.
Ukiona naona watu wengi wako na pesa na bara wanaenda kwa siasa, so you wonder
nashindwa nini?
Kwa nini kitu ndio maana huko kuna pesa.
Haya. Umesikia mambo kama haya. Asante bado kwa Bomet ama umekuja Nairobi?
Niko Nairobi bwana.
Haya, tafadhali tukunywa chai. Hata siku hizi kitambo mlikuwa mnatunulianga chai, siku hizi hata mjali kuhusu sisi. Hawaja tukufe basi.
Maisha yamekuwa ngumu bwana.
Haya, sawa, tata Rodi. Tuonane Monday. Haya, there's someone here in diaspora. Yeah, so really kama ni simu ile disconnect simu yake. So let me see. Let me try and get him on. Okay. Let's watu wa diaspora wanasemaje if they ever to vote or not. Good morning. Bunge la Mwananchi.
How are you?
Fine, sir. How are you doing?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Good morning.
I'm well. This is Galilea from.
Don't disconnect. The guys on WhatsApp disconnect. Good morning to you. Jambo la Bunge la Mwananchi jambo. Okay, yamepotea. Okay, yes sir. Who am I speaking to?
Hello.
Naongea na nani?
I had a concern.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Unanipata?
Nakusikia boss.
Unanipata?
Sana kabisa. Nakupata lakini kuna echo. Kuna echo kwako sana. There's a lot of echoes coming out from your end.
Kuna echo?
Yes.
So it's clear now?
Yes, can you hear, but there's still some echoes on your side. I don't know if there's is there any sound on your background that's giving us feedback? Okay.
Unanipata sahi?
Yes, nakupata. Yes, sema boss.
Hapo unanipata?
Nakupata, niambie. Nakupata? Okay. Yeah. Kama kona echoes upande wake, I wish we could be able to listen to you. Somebody is asking for a link. The packs that the politicians are getting. All right, I think we close. I think it's wisdom for us to close so that we can close on time. But let's listen to this guy finally. Good morning to you. Bunge la Mwananchi kwa mambo.
Morning.
Hey, morning to you, sir.
Hello.
Nakusikia dadi.
Nataka kuuliza. Daktari atuelezee kama kuna clue about those Venezuelans. About what we are told that they had the interview with the DCI, but we have not been told what they talked about, anything about the meeting. So does the daktari have any clue about it?
Okay, kama daktari anajua mambo ya Venezuela. Haya, asante. That's the end of it for Bunge la Mwananchi. Poleni wale ambao nimewafungia nje kwa sababu tunakimbiza masaa. Leo tuko kizungu. Haya. Ingia laini daktari.
The first thing is that I can confirm for a fact that on the Venezuelans, there is a bit of mixed up in terms of reporting or even information. You see, when these guys were arrested, and again, we go back to the question really of accountability. When these fellows were arrested at JKIA, Kinoti did an 11-pager statement.
It was 30, actually.
Is that 30? Okay.
Almost 30 pages.
He did a very long statement explaining, exposing, which means they already had prior intelligence on the arrivals of these people, including, for example, the fact that I think they came into the country with I don't know how they were allowed in, with either expired passports or whatever, all those things. Then there was a lull, and that caused a storm in IEBC. And IEBC was not able to clearly explain. IEBC claimed that they were their employee, which is not true, because Smartmatics is not IEBC. This is a foreign company. So there, kuna vile Wakenya tulichezwa, because IEBC went into some storm. It wasn't able to explain itself. Then Juzi, is it Juzi ama Jana? Kinoti now has again written to clear those people, to say that actually they consult for IEBC. So Kenyans are left wondering, why will these two agencies of government, all of them, behave in a certain, in this very erratic manner? Sasa hapo kuna ukarabati imefanywa,
Na nani anauliza hapa, Abbas anauliza, the stickers issue was resolved. The IG and the IEBC commissioner looked happy. Kenyans are interested in how the resolution was arrived at.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. There must be some calculation that was done, and probably whoever it is that is responsible for these people, or whatever their interest is, must have come in handy and pacified both DCI and IEBC. And that's why they look happy, according to Abbas. But there's a question also has been asked of me. Which way for Chebukati? To be honest with you, like the way I've outlined the way Chebukati as a national returning officer has mishandled this election, he does not deserve to be in IBC anymore. In fact, as guys had called for his resignation, that he must actually resign as soon as possible. And there will be no lacuna. There's so many commissioners. The vice chairperson of IEBC could step in and take over the mantle of the chairmanship. And even if today both the chairman, and that's the law by the way, even if today both the chairman and the vice chairman of IEBC were not there, the rest of the commission can actually meet together and nominate one of their own as to be the chairman and to be the national returning officer. So for a person of Chebukati's incompetence and the magnitude with which it comes, he does not honestly deserve even to be in that office a day longer. He must quit. Yeah. Right. And you see, it's not Chebukati who organizes the election. IEBC is a big institution. It has got 47 counties, constituency offices. It has got all this staff. It's actually this staff at IEBC Secretariat that handles the election, not the commissioners. Commissioners are actually ceremonial, which is why for us at Punguza Mizigo we are saying, why do we need 8 commissioners or even 9 commissioners or even 7? We need a minimum of 3, which that's what the constitution says. And they should work part-time. Like for the next 5 years, why do we need 7 commissioners as we are feeding millions and millions of Kenya shillings with all our taxes, only for them to come to become relevant on the 5th year, not even on the 5th year, actually a few days or weeks to the election, when the staff at IEBC have done all the work. Look, I have run a university, the Jomo Kenyatta University, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, as a chairman of council for 3 years. I was working in Liberia. All I needed to do is just come, chair the meeting, make decision, because you've got a whole, administration led by the vice chancellor who are doing the work. You've got the directors, you've got the deans of school and all that. We don't need a full-time university council, So you can imagine a whole university council and the kind of work that they are doing compared, for example, to IEBC, who would just become relevant. IEBC commission will become relevant on the 5th year. So we need these people to be part-timers, or in all the commission, by the way, all the commission. And that was our proposal under Punguza Mizigo. And we are going to make a lot of savings, I think over 5 billion Kenya shillings by just downsizing the number of commissioners.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Boss, hebu niambie, unasemaje? Vincent, sema.
Gerald.
Vincent.
Yes, kuna hiyo issue ya kusanya photocopies ya IDs ya watu. That issue, it is the second time when I'm hearing such cases.
Okay.
Because there was a guy from my area who wanted to run as an independent member of county assembly. And he was told to collect a certain number of supporters, ID photocopies.
Okay.
Yeah. So my question to Dr. Aukot is, now that there is a case in court that he says that he has filed, should the boss continue holding the office when is incompetent?
Of course, in my view, Vincent, this guy, like we have demonstrated in a number of ways, right from 2017, even 2017, if I can just give you information, he was asking us to bring supporter lists from our party. I looked at him and asked him, but that's not what the Constitution is saying. The Constitution says supporter lists must come from registered Kenyan voters. Each political party in Kenya has a minimum of 24,000. Yet the Constitution requires of you to bring 48,000. So how can you insist that the supporters to your presidential bid can only be members of your party? That is incompetence and lack of basic reading of the law. That's why I was saying Chebukati is not even able to interpret the law alone. Leave alone, to interpret. Because to ask him to interpret the Constitution is to ask him to perform a miracle. We are asking him, just read what the Constitution says. So yes, I agree with you. The man is incompetent. He does not deserve to be there. After all, many Kenyans do not know. This guy was, I think, number last or second last in the interviews. So he was just given this position so that he can be manipulated. And there are now findings from the first 2017 election. 2017 election, presidential election. The Supreme Court found that Chebukati, as a national returning officer, had committed irregularities and illegalities. And that means he committed electoral offenses. For now, really, if we had a functioning institutions in this country, say DCI or DPP or EACC, he could have charged Chebukati a long time ago, or ask him produce the people who committed illegalities and irregularities so that they can be punished. How is it that a chicken thief in this country, ama somebody who goes into a shamba na sababu ya njaa naiba tu mahindi, anafungwa jela mara moja, lakini mtu mwenye ana violate the Constitution of Kenya anawachwa tu kukaa tu kung'edhia kwa ofisi na
Asante Vincent, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you guys.
Another thing, Gerald.
Masaa imeenda ndugu, tunafunga kazi.
Okay, sawa.
Thank you. We'll pick it up with you next week. Thank you, Daktari. Your tackle of the day.
I think my tackle of the day is this. I just want to ask, and I want to speak to the 25% of Kenyans who are disillusioned. I just want to remind them of the three options that we have on the table. Number one, do not vote, but that means you're compromising your own constitutional right. And you are giving away your right, for example, to seek accountability and for any government of the day. Number two is vote between a jackal and a fox. Choose how you want to be eaten, whether you want to be the dinner on the table or you want to dine with them.
You want to be eaten with some sprinkle of cheese.
But in this case, just make a clear choice, a determined choice. Look at all the issues that we have brought on the table today in this discussion and in the past, and see who among those people is better off. And of course, number three is we cancel the election. I know they will not cancel the election. Many people are calling for its cancellation, but I know they will not cancel because of the huge interest. So it looks like we are remaining with number two, which is that how do I want to be eaten? You could also turn out to be the jackal. Maybe you can eat them. So perhaps those are the choices you need to make between a lesser evil and and like I said, for me, one of my operating philosophy will be I need to look at the political cancer in this country. And for me, I'm guided very well with the question of state capture of our institutions, especially by people who are entitled, who think that if their families are not in power, the rest of us are not. So for me, that will be my guiding principle when I go to vote, because I'll definitely vote because I want to have a voice in calling my government of the day to account. Yeah, and that's why I will never vote any pro-system people who have been here for the longest time. And I also want to urge Kenyans, just look at the lies. You're not too blind, you're not too uneducated, not to see that you're being lied to. The people who can now tell you at when we get into government, and yet they've been in government, we will do this for you. I think look at those lies, interrogate them, and vote with your conscience. But look at the overall picture. What are we addressing here? For me, there's a political cancer in this country that's driven by 1-2 individuals or their families that really we must get rid of.
Okay. All right. It's always a pleasure to have you, Dr. EKURU AUKOT. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Those are tacklers who have been brothers as well on Facebook and on YouTube. It's always a pleasure to have you. For those guys who have called, I think the guys are still calling on the bunge. Really sorry, we have to close it early today. Tumaliza mapema kazi. Alafu next week, pia mnachunga time. Bunge kifunguliwa, mnajaa hapo.
Can you invite them to the other show?
Yes. Oh, pale wakuja tupatane huko EBN. I think tutakuwa na Ukuru mahali inaitwa EBN TV. Also going there for the first time. Mtupate huko alafu tuendelee na mazungumzo tuweze kuona nini inaendelea Kenya. Alright, until then I want to wish you a very great Friday. I still want to remind you, please, tununue shamba pale Optiven Kenya Limited. We continue to inspire possibilities. We give you very flexible payment plans up to 12 months. Unaweza nunua shamba kwa njia shwari zaidi, malipo ya pole pole, unapata shamba kwa njia rahisi zaidi. I want to wish you a very great weekend. Thank you so much for always being a partner on the tackle. Without you, we could never be. I still tell you this every single day. Without each one of you who always joins us every single morning, without the diasporans who actually sacrifice their sleep to watch us and contribute to the conversation, without every Kenyan who joins us every morning to listen to us, this thing could never have been. We've been almost 2 years now, and we appreciate you for being part of us through this milestone. You can continue to partner with us, continue listening to us, and continue sharing our broadcast and being part of these conversations. Even if you are towards the general elections in 10 days, I still want to remind you that it is just a process. It is an exercise. Exercise your democratic right to go and vote and go home. Piga kura alafu ende nyumbani upumzike. Wacha kusumbua majirani wako na Wakenya wenzako. Vote and go home. Let democracy take its place. Mtu akitangazwa, it will be a Kenyan, definitely. It will be a human being, no tail, no horns. And this country, chances that your life will still remain as it is on the 10th of August is almost 100%, as I usually tell you. So pray that you have a peaceful transition, that you can wake up to do what you do. We want to be on the 10th with Dr. EKURU AUKOT and analyze the election results. And we also want to be there every single other day and be able to push this conversation further. Until Monday, I wish you a very great weekend. Enjoy and see you again. We love you and take care. This is The Tackle and it ends right now. I'll be talk. Bye-bye.